I've built a 20K MRR software using no-code tools. And I'm here to tell you that investing your time into learning tools like Lovable and Replit and other low-code vibe coding tools is pretty much a waste of time. Now, I've built a marketing company to 8 figures, and I've worked inside of high-growth startups, and I work with these tools nearly every single day. So I've seen both sides, the business side that actually uses these things and the builder side that actually builds the tool and tries to sell them. That's why when I say that low-code tools are pretty much a waste of time for technical people trying to build real products, I'm saying that from experience. Now, those platforms are fine for low-stakes internal tools or toss-away demo apps, but it's low skill and it will be wiped out by people learning to really build. So it's not really a question of if, but more so a question of when. Because the skill of clicking buttons is kind of becoming worthless, and it's making those types of tools feel like Make.com or N8N workflows. And if you don't believe me, let me show you the exact pattern that is playing out right now. Look at what happened in the automation industry, because it's a preview of what's to come. In 2020, if you could basically hook up a Zapier automation to a CRM or a few other tools, people basically thought you were God tier. But then what happened was the tools improved. Then between like 2022 to 2024, if you could string together a workflow automation inside of a tool like N8N, you could pretty reliably build a 6-figure business. But then what happened? The tools improved. Now in 2024 and the beginning half of 2025, you could use a tool like Lovable or Replit to build an MVP for something that pretty much worked and get a lot of demo hype around how cool this industry just was in general. And you could get users because of that. But now what's happening is that we're having the AI improve. But in 2026, this type of skill set is going to become highly commoditized, meaning if everybody can do it, then what is the value in doing it? So now the skill that will transcend all of those in 2026 is going to be tool agnostic AI orchestration. And look, I've lived this exact arc over the past 6 years. When I was a sales engineer in the tech startup scene, simply being able to call a few different APIs, modify some data, pump it back into your tool, write a few scripts, that was really a game changer of a skill set. And that CRM that I spent over a year building could now be done realistically in under a month with proper vibe coding workflows. So I've seen firsthand what the development of these skills really means to people like you and me. So what do we do about it? Well, here's the shift that will determine if you are still relevant with these skills 18 months from now. Stop letting tools dictate what you can build and start letting problems dictate what you should build, and then use AI to orchestrate and make it real. So what does that actually look like? Instead of one shot, one sentence prompting, start learning how to think and plan like a product manager, like you're really speccing this thing out for real development teams. Instead of hopping from dead demo to dead demo, you need to commit to one problem and build deep around that problem. And most importantly, instead of worshiping different tools, you need to orchestrate AI in order to expand what you're actually capable of. So how do you actually make this shift from tool dependent down to orchestrating things with AI? You need a framework, something that structures your thinking so that AI can execute your vision effectively. Without that, you're really just hoping that the AI can read your mind effectively. But with it, you're directing AI like a product manager handing this thing off to their actual dev team. That is the difference between demos that die and products that will ship. Now, my version of this, I call the Pro framework, and I like to think of it like a pyramid. At the base of the pyramid, we are planning out what we intend to do. In the middle of the pyramid, we are refining that plan to make sure it's in line with what we need it to do. At the top of that pyramid, we are orchestrating the system to actually make our plan come to life. So let me break that down for you. On the first level, we have P, which stands for plan. And this is where we're trying to define the what, the who, and what success for this thing actually looks like. So we're trying to define what problem we are solving and for who. What does success actually look like from the user's perspective? And then what is that core shape of the solution? What are the core features? What are the core flows? How does someone actually interact with this thing to solve that problem that we defined? So you'll notice in this phase that we are not planning the implementation details or the tech stack or any of that. We're planning what to build, not how to build it. And once we know what we are actually planning for, then we can use AI to help us build out a solution to that problem in this specific way. Now, if you want a video surrounding what you need to actually plan for technically, let me know in the comments below and I will record a deep dive video just on that. Now, R stands for refining. So at this stage, we need to take that initial plan that we had built out up here and we need to actually refine it, because the Achilles heel of these language models is that they fill in the blanks themselves. Meaning, if your plan has gaps in it or question marks about what you are building and who it's for, and then all of the different considerations involved in that, it is trained to fill in the gaps by itself, which means it's going to build you the wrong result. And that right there is why your AI-driven apps almost never turn out precisely the way you wanted them to. It's because you are allowing the model to make critical product decisions about what this thing is, the real core problem that it's solving, and how it's meant to do that. That's why going into one of these tools like Lovable or Replit and just saying something like, hey, I want a sleep tracking app that wakes the user up at their ideal sleep stage when they're coming out of a sleep cycle. There are way too many assumptions and gaps that the language model is going to have to fill in to that type of statement. And so it's going to end up building something that isn't actually what you wanted. But once we have our plan and we've refined it, we can use any of the AI tools out there to orchestrate our plan to get the job done. So our mind stays focused on the problem and the clarity around the solution, while the AI system orchestrates building it out to spec. Now, here's what most people miss, and it makes me a little mad sometimes to hear. The Pro framework will help you get better at building, but the meta skill underneath all of this will make you 10 times more valuable in whatever you do with these tools. The real skill is learning how to use AI to rapidly understand the fundamentals and the principles that will make any product you choose to build great. If you look back at highly successful people throughout history, this was their hallmark trait. Elon Musk didn't know how rockets worked when he decided to create SpaceX. He took years to figure out the physics of rockets and then use that understanding to challenge conventional beliefs. Steve Jobs didn't really code. He obsessed over the user experience and what the product meant to the people using it. And from there, he orchestrated teams to make that vision come to life. And the same thing applies here. We need to use AI to apply that pattern of getting down to the principles of the thing so that we can understand how to actually acquire users in the first place, how to actually build a solution that really delivers them value. Once we've gotten them in the door, how do we actually retain them? How do we monetize them? How do we architect an application that will stand the test of time of real people using it? And then this process repeats. So the loop is we build value, we get users, we monetize those users, we learn using AI plus our experience in that process. We learn about what worked and what didn't work. We make changes, and then we repeat the process. So the skill is in seeing the shape that success takes and replicating it. Again, I built a CRM for marketing agencies with a literal no-code tool years ago called Bubble. But I had to limit the product because the platform was constrained. I couldn't solve the problems in a meaningful way that the people had. Now I'm building a portfolio of apps by orchestrating tools like deep research tools, Claude Code, and Cursor. But you need to focus on what users actually need. You slow down in the initial stages and think through from a problem-first perspective. And then we let the AI handle the implementation detail that would have taken weeks of Googling, months of attempting to implement, and years of learning the syntax of how to build these systems. But both of those paths actually require the understanding of what user value actually means. What do your customers actually need, and how do you make it come to life in the best way possible? That is the key. So here's what this means for you. Wayne Gretzky once said that the key to his success was skating where the puck was going, not where the puck is. And once the vibe coding hype has died down a bit and some of these tools have gone away, you're going to want to have spent that time learning how to build through systems. So here's what to do if you want to position yourself to win in this new landscape. Pick one real problem worth actually solving, not some, hey, let me go test it out, throwaway demo. Second, learn a framework like the Pro framework. Now, I will link a playlist somewhere around here on my channel where we go through in detail how to actually build using that type of framework. And optionally, you can join our free group below, which has over 12,000 members trying to implement these exact systems and grow together. And third, start with problems first. Tools are secondary. That's it for this video, though. I will see you in the next one.